Guten Morgen, willkommen. Last time you saw me finish the bride. This time she needs her partner for the aisle, so I'm starting the Brautigam, the groom. So, compared to the groom, we already did the more difficult one with the bride, so the groom's going to be a piece of cake. Literally. Well, I don't actually have cake on me. I kind of want cake now. But, the first 33 rows are literally straight stockinette stitch. Just 7 in this color, and then I get to break into the blue, which is amazing. No longer just shades of brown and white, like blue, I love blue. Okay. And then it's also going to be easier because with the bride, most of the bride was done in the round, but the groom I get to do on 2 needles. I get to do it flat and then sew up the back. Probably because, unlike the bride, for the groom there is color work in that there are multiple colors in the same row. So I'm going to get the groom started with the taupe, which is what we're using to replace the sun-kissed yarn that they're requesting us to use. They want 38 stitches, so like only 2 stitches wider than the bride. And then 7 rows of this, and then up to 33 rows of this, and that's when the color work begins. So I'm going to be back when there is actually color work to be seen, or to be done at this point. Here are the 33 rows of just straight stockinette, and oh my gosh, it is so much easier to knit when I'm only dealing with 2 needles than when I'm dealing with 5. It's like the yarn's not going to fall out. I know the yarn isn't going to fall out. Even though I'm working with double point needles, there's no stopper on the end, but I wanted the groom to be like the same proportions as the bride because once they're made, obviously we're gonna like cosplay them kissing at least once, and I want their faces to like match each other. Anyway, now we're going to do the jacquard technique. It's like the sentence, Dein Heimdeinstadt in jacquard technique. So the person who developed this color working technique must have been named Jacquard. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. But as I'm reading the pattern, it looks like it's symmetrical. And none of the increases in the middle are more than 1 on each side. So if I get the first row right, the rest should easily follow. It should work. And this is the overtail again, which it starts with shohuhi, which I'm guessing is the shoes. And then this part is the ansong. The ansug, apparently. And then now we're touching the overtail. So maybe overtail refers to the shirt, or maybe it refers to the torso. Maybe not so much outfit. I think it actually refers to this part of the body. I can't Google Translate right now, so because of a rule that I set for myself. So we have no way of knowing. Also, I think I did something wrong. I think I was supposed to start with a purl row, but I started with a knit row because I'm starting the color work on the purl row, and usually they like us to start. Usually knitting books like us to start color work on a knit row. But I know it's still going to be stockinette because it's color work. So first I do 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I missed my chance to count for Einstein Drive via 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right. So now we're going to put in the white yarn and hope that we don't get the yarn tangled. And also that I don't pull the yarn too tight against the back. I mean, I don't want it to be too loose either, but I want it to be the right tension because we're going to stuff this baby. This is 1, 2, this should be 18. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I'm good. I'm really good. You know, as I'm like pronouncing these German words, I'm realizing I'm pronouncing them as how I would pronounce them in English because I don't know how the German words are pronounced. It reminds me of some people that I ran into at work. There's a Spanish-speaking couple from Ecuador at work who I ended up becoming good friends with before they left. So it was during the time when my work was hiring people who only spoke Spanish. And they ended up getting hired to the same department. The husband understood English, the wife did not. And like the husband became like important to learning things in the department. Like the husband ended up becoming a teacher for the training processes, and the wife was pulled to do like other like stuff. Like she was pulled to pack out boxes and things like that. But I ended up becoming friends with them because I ended up having to teach the wife how to gift wrap. It was like a class where like I didn't know, like I knew some Spanish, but I didn't know enough to teach her. So it was kind of like I taught the people in English first, and then I kind of had to explain to her afterwards. But then we got friendly, and like there's one point where she was sent over to help me how to do like one of the more complicated roles, and it's like, what can I have her do that like what can I have her do that will help me out without requiring too much training? So I was explaining how to overage items out, which is basically adding items into the computer system as inventory. And we were looking at like baby wipes. Baby wipes were one of the things that we had to add. And she was explaining to me like, I'm pronouncing things. I am pronouncing things as they should be pronounced. I pronounce every syllable in here. And then she goes to wipes and she says, see, it's like, weepes. And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so terrible. It's like, I was saying to her that's not how it's pronounced. And she's like, but we're pronouncing it as it should be pronounced, weepes. I was like, oh wait, I shouldn't have done that yet. I should not have increased that yet. I got distracted. That's next row. It's like, oh my gosh, that sounds so bad. And as I'm pronouncing like these German words as how I would pronounce them in English, I'm sure like anyone who actually understands German is probably going like, oh my gosh, she's butchering our language. It's so bad. Which, yeah, I'm sure I am. They never, what's it called? Like, I haven't seen the Spanish couple for like a month or so. They went back to Ecuador. I hope they're doing well. They were very friendly. They had like also a newborn kid as well. There would be like sometimes I would end up talking to the wife and trying to speak my Spanish, and they're sometimes we just found there was a barrier we could not pass. So it's like, okay, husband, translate for us, please. He was never really far away from her anyway. Okay, now we increase the stitch. I'm kind of thrilled that I'm working on a suit here. It's like, I love suits. I absolutely love them. I think they look good on most people. Like, if most people get a suit that fits them well, they look stunning. Like, it's one of those outfits that looks good on practically everyone. Although this is partially influenced because I want to say, like, around 6 to 7 years ago, BuzzFeed had a series of videos where, for content, they sent out their employees to buy suits for themselves, or sent out, or like hired a stylist to get a proper suit. And I just ate those videos up, especially the ones where they were getting suits for women. There are at least two, if not 3 different videos where they got suits for women. Excuse me. And like, they just look so good. It's like, it was like the opening part of, the suit doesn't have to be boring. The suit doesn't have to be black. The suit doesn't have to be a boring color. Like, one of the women got like a red wine color suit, like a maroon suit. And I was like, she looks so sexy. She looks so good. I want to wear a suit like that. And like, shortly after that, I got an internship at a museum, and I got the chance to like develop my like suit collection, where I wore like a blazer and a nice shirt and like it's like nice slacks too, and like the good slacks had pockets, obviously, because I still had to do functional stuff. But it's like, it was amazing, like, how much at home it felt wearing a blazer at work. Then on the flip side, I wore a blazer to my current job, and it felt so out of place. It's like, why am I dressed up so formally here? Oh, man. It's like, I ended up buying a mint green blazer for my sister's wedding. And man, even though it's like the 3/4 sleeve, I wish it was like a little bit longer. I felt so good in that. All right. Making sure I don't get distracted by myself. I mean, this has been a lifelong problem, me getting distracted, yeah. So, I can't tell you how many times I would take forever to do my homework. I would get distracted by the textbook I was supposed to be reading. It's like, yeah, I'm working on science homework. I'm supposed to be reading the textbook. I'm answering questions from the textbook, but I'm in the wrong chapter. I'm reading ahead. Which the joke was then on me when a couple weeks later, that was the chapter the homework was done, and I couldn't focus because I was reading the next chapter ahead. It's like, I'm learning stuff. I'm not learning the stuff I'm supposed to be learning, but I'm learning stuff. There you go. We're doing the little thing. Also, I love drawing people in suits. I don't know why, I just do. It's like, ooh, little dapper. I think I was largely influenced by Kermit in a suit in The Great Muppet Caper. Like, Kermit in the suit is just like, mwah. Just I love frog geese in suits. It's like a top hat. I mean, if I were to wear a top hat, I would be somewhat pretentious, probably. But I mean, just like the ties and like the collared shirt doesn't necessarily have to be a tuxedo either, but yeah, I really like suits. Would I have the patience to ever like make one for myself? Probably not. I have attempted to make my dad ties before. My dad has a tie collection that he wears to work. I think I have one of my dad's ties in my room right now. I've took it away from him years ago in order to make another tie. I've just never given it back. It's a tie he didn't really care about. But like when he had to go into the office more often and he was wearing ties more often, he would be wearing fun ties. So there'd be like ties with the logos of organizations he was a part of, but he had like a Peanuts tie, I want to say. He had a Grinch tie. I'm sure of it. I'm sure that he had a Grinch tie. He had a Winnie the Pooh themed tie. It had Tigger on it. He might have had multiple of them actually. Although, like, until my parents started going on cruise ships, my dad was strictly like a straight long tie. He wasn't a bow tie guy. It wasn't until he got a tuxedo to go on the cruise that he decided to experiment with the bow tie. And he was like watching YouTube videos on how to tie a bow tie. I ended up wearing like a party-esque bow tie my second year of college. It was like it was a green sequin studded bow tie, but it had an elastic, and I got it from Queer Prom. I didn't go to prom in high school. I only went to dances in high school, but they were part of other events. But I went to Queer Prom because a friend of mine trying to think of how to phrase this. Okay. Yeah, a friend of mine was part of the LGBTQ group at the college we were going to. Like, we were both part of the Go Ecuador team where we were both going, like, I went to a Catholic school that believes in, like, going on kind of, like, missionary type. Like, the first college I went to was a Jesuit college. They believed on going, like, on missionary type trips. Although it was less, let's preach the word of Jesus, and more, let's experience what these other people go through and see how we can help them that way. Like, help them by witnessing their experience. Anyway, they invited, like, the whole group to Queer Prom, and it's like, you know what, I'm gonna go. And the nice thing about Queer Prom is there isn't this, like, heterosexual expectation that most proms, like regular proms, have. It's like, okay, you must bring a date with you. It's like, no, it's not guaranteed that people are going to be partnered up boy-girl. So, it's like I could just come alone and just have a good time, which is what I did. I was pretty nervous going there, actually. I was feeling kind of shy. But It was worth it. This was also before I realized that I was queer. It's like, oh, okay. This was like shortly. Yeah, this was also around the time when I started being aware that people were queer. Like, I wasn't really aware that people were queer. Well, it wasn't something that I actually, like, really started caring about and researching into until college. Like, I knew queer people existed in high school. But, it wasn't really something that I thought about because I didn't think I had a reason to think about it. Also, it didn't really bother me that much. It's like, so a girl's romantically involved with a girl, cool. I mean, I don't really have a problem with that so much. Like, also, I mean, there was some residual Catholic, oh my gosh, homosexuality is a sin type of thing going through, but it's like, especially like with college, I started interacting with people telling me like, oh, hey, I'm queer. And it's like, cool. This really doesn't affect how I interact with you. You're still a pretty cool person, so. I don't think I was able to realize I was queer until I built up enough of a vocabulary to describe what I was. Especially since it's like, when you're learning about the queer community, you don't necessarily learn about everything all at once. It's like clearly I learned about being gay first. And then it's like, well, I mean, I've had crushes on guys, so I don't think I'm gay. But then I started having feelings towards girls and starting to recognize, like, oh, some of these feelings towards girls are the same as the feelings I had towards crushes with guys. And it wasn't until I was 25 that I was, like, reading for a bit. And it was like, at first I thought there was a period of time where I was wondering if I was asexual, honestly. Because it's like, I don't seem to be connecting with anyone. And I realize now, while I'm maybe more, like, demisexual than I would be, like, asexual, I was also depressed out of my mind. And when you're depressed out of your mind, there's no room for romance. Yeah, you're too busy trying to not drown to really have romantic feelings towards anybody. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to share that much today, but okay. Like, even now, like, I don't really go into romantic relationships unless there is an emotional connection. Fortunately, it's not terribly hard to develop an emotional connection in some way, shape, or form. But, especially, like, since during college, people were trying to set me up on dates, and it was like, well, can you show us what you would like in a person physically so we can bring home the right type of person for you? And kind of against my will, I mean, I willingly did it, but I kind of, like, grudgingly did it because I was in a living situation with roommates who were telling me my hobbies were bad, and, like, I needed to expand my horizons, which, I mean, expanding your horizons isn't a bad thing. The way they went about it was not the best way to go about it, though. And so I ended up creating, like, a hot guy wall, and they're looking at the people on the hot guy wall, and it's like, these people do not look like each other. And I was like, I mean, you don't know what feature a person could have that they could rock, and you can go like, oh yeah, I like that. It's like you're expecting me to say like, oh, I'm only into brunettes, or oh, I only like people who are a certain height. It's like, it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. Also, I had someone like yell at me because it was my hot guy wall. Those people that I thought were hot. Well, I put up a picture of George Harrison, and George Harrison at the time was dead. And he's like, you want to have sex with a corpse? And it's like, dude, it's a photograph. Chill, dude. I don't want you to actually bring George Harrison through the door. If you brought someone who looked like George Harrison, it's just supposed to be a guide. It was also made it clear to me that I did not understand the concept of celebrity crushes. Because, I mean, I don't really develop, like, full-blown crushes on celebrities. Like, I enjoy looking at celebrities, and, I mean, I may find them attractive, but I don't necessarily develop, like, full-on crushes on them as I do with people that I interact with in real life. And they didn't phrase the question correctly either when they were asking me this, because it's like, oh, who's a celebrity that you really like? And I didn't register that like was in a romantic sense in the case. So I said Kermit the Frog. And that was the wrong answer. I love Kermit the Frog. I do not want to sleep with Kermit the Frog. Let's be clear here. Like, I admire Kermit the Frog. I want to be like Kermit the Frog. And, like, I did not understand the question at the time. I mean, this was like a decade ago, so I can laugh about it now. I couldn't exactly laugh about it then. I have to admit, it is amazing to, like, look back and see, like, throughout my life, the strides that I made to, like, coping with my depression. Like, things are definitely better now than they were. I've finally gotten to the point where I found, like, the right coping mechanisms to not have depressive episodes every month. Finally, like, part of it was getting myself out of situations that were causing me to, like, mentally drown, and parts of it were starting therapy, and parts of it was getting on medication that allows me to function. And, like, one of the best, and, like, when I think overall, like, it's November, so 2022 is almost done. And, like, the two big things that happened for me this year, honestly, one was getting the promotion at work. That was, like, a long time coming. The other one was starting a medication that really decreased the amount of depressive episodes that I had. Because it's like I realized what was causing the depressive episodes. And like, I didn't want to up the dosage of the antidepressant that I was on. But I found this other medicine that like cut it down, and like, it's been so nice not having a depressive episode every month. Honestly, it's been easier to function. Who knew, right? Yeah. I realize I'm saying a lot. It's a filler word. I don't know how this habit started, but it started. But I have time to fix it as long as I catch myself every time I say Which you guys probably weren't noticing as much until I said something about it. But we know I do that anyway. We know I'm probably going to call myself out on it anyway. Yeah, okay. I'm still on track. I'm still on track for the suit. Okay. I mean, here you can see I have it in a knot when I did the color change. I'm probably going to be doing the same thing here when I finish this part of the suit. Oh, the yarn sounds nice here. The yarn is not crying. It's a good sign when the yarn isn't crying. Maybe the yarn was a little bit too tight, but I don't think it's going to matter terribly much. Because I'm about to put a whole nother color on top of this, and I don't think it's going to matter that much. Although my wrist is starting to squeal at me. It's like, Becky, you've knit entirely too much today. Why are you doing this to us? And it's like, because I am. I'm sorry. There we go. I think we're going to have the color technique, and we're going to have a ton of this yarn left over. I have enough to make this at least 2 or 3 more times. I'm probably not going to make this 2 or 3 more times. Although if I want to be inappropriate, I have enough to make this seam-man. Next, if I wanted to. All right, we have to be appropriate now. Because we know if I attempt to make the seam-man on camera, I am going to just tell a bunch of naughty jokes the entire time. There we go. That is our first bit of color work done. So nice, right? Just a little triangle, so cute. So I'm just gonna cut the yarn here. And I'm gonna pop back in the next time it demands me to do a little bit more color work. Now I've got the start of the face or the neck or whatever. And now it wants me to do the color work to start the hair. And it starts with Intarsian technique. Intarsian technique, which I don't know how Intarsia is different from Jacquard, to be honest. There must be some difference if they care to differentiate it, but I don't really care what the difference is, so I'm going to treat it the same. Which sounds freaking terrible, man, but that's how it is. And also, it's telling me that the hair color is deep amber. No, deep amber. Not ember. Amber. But if you look at the picture, I mean, until I read the instructions, so the feet and the bow tie are, if you can see it, the feet and the bow tie are the sun-kissed. The hair is deep amber. They freaking look like the same color. Like, if there's a difference, which, I mean, now I know they're different colors, I can kind of see it, but not really. It's like measurable. It's not even worth getting the different skeins. Either way, we're just still going to use our taupe for this. So, it's just a little bit harder. We don't necessarily want to cut the yarn this time because we know we still have to use this yarn going forward. So I do 7 stitches in that color. And then I don't bother counting until I reach 7 at the end, yeah? 1, 2, 3. Because we know it's going to be symmetrical. We know the seam is going to go right up the back for this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. Is that 7? So then it's going to be really important for the tension to be right here. And also that the colors don't get tangled. My gosh, we were successful with the first type, with the first one. Let's make sure we're successful now. So I think we put this over. And then, of course, make sure it doesn't fall off the double-pointed needles. Yeah, there has only been one picture of the bride and groom in the pattern. That is the only picture in the entire pattern. So thank goodness they have a good resolution photo there. Because otherwise we might have been a bit lost. Also, the fact that I'm starting the hair this far down for this makes me realize the bride pretty much has a shaved back of the head with the way that the pattern is, but also because we work the bride in the round, it's a lot harder to do color work when you're doing it in the round versus when you're doing it flat like this. I guess the person didn't want to make it too hard. Not that it can't be done. I mean, there's lots of socks that exist to the contrary that prove that color work can absolutely be done in the round. Though it's a lot to keep track of. So if it's 4, 7, so I just have 2 more stitches. And then we kind of just drag this underneath. Yep. And I think we got the tension because I can't forget that I'm going to stuff this with like stuffing afterwards, yeah? I can't necessarily stuff it too thickly because it's going to have me sew later on. So now it's 9, so 2 stitches in, and then there we go. Okay. But it's like if I pull the string too tight in the back, it's going to affect how the stuffing goes inside, and it's going to give it the like goldfish look, like that look. And we don't really want that for our groom or our bride, but mostly our groom. Because the groom has a color work. I think the bride's going to be fine in that regard. Hey, you behave like, yeah, that's right. You know better. As I talk to an inanimate object. I probably should go to bed. But I don't feel like going to bed. Should I go to bed? Yes. Do I feel like it? No. I did not like going to bed when I was younger. Probably because there were rules related to bedtime that triggered my anxiety. And I didn't like not having the freedom to turn, like, when you're a little kid, you obviously are not allowed to turn the light on after a certain time because you need to sleep. So, and scary things happen in the dark. So when you've got like a time limit and you gotta obey the time limit, it's like, well, what if bad thoughts come after the time limit? That's entirely possible. I can't control my mind. I always struggled with bedtime. I still struggle with bedtime. It's something I've never really been on a good relationship with. Even now, I don't have a set bedtime. I mean, now I live that nocturnal life, so it's weird. Like, I technically should be in bed right now. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, or is it? It is 9:19 in the morning. And it's like, most people are like, oh yeah, this is the start of the day. This is when you should be most active. And it's like, no, I'm going to feel it when I go back to work if I don't go to sleep right now. But alas, here we are. We are just going to keep on knitting. Because this is honestly what I feel like doing at the moment. I just feel like knitting and nothing else. Okay. Woo! There you go. You can kind of see like what I mean by making sure it's the right tension. It's not like drooping incessantly, which means the stitches will be tight as they overlap like this. But it's not, but it's like long enough that I can like still stretch this out. Although I don't want it to stretch out so much that it falls off the needle. Like, we are at the limit for the amount of stitches that this needle can handle, honestly. Especially now that we've done like color work, it's definitely not as tight as boom boom down here. Oh yeah. It's already starting to get a little bit twisted, but meh. Anyway, what I'm doing now is basically more the same until I get to the part where I decrease. And you've pretty much seen me do this so far. So I'm going to return back when we get closer to the part of the pattern that requires us to decrease. Well, here is the body of the groom, and now I've hit the point of the instructions where I have to start decreasing in order to get the hairline to be the way it is. So we started with 38 stitches on the needle, and this row wants me to go to 34. So that means we're going to be decreasing at least 4 times, or we're trying to get rid of at least 4 stitches, right? So if I do this, and then I do the decrease, and it wants me to do it by groups of 7. So ein, sei, drei, vier, 5, 6, 7. Wants me to do it 3 or 4 times, one of the two. So then it's ein, sei, drei, vier, 5, 6, 7. That's the second time I've done it. This is the third one. So ein, zwei, drei, vier, 5, 6, 7. And that should be 8 stitches left, which there are. Okay. So since it's ending exactly where I'm expecting it to end, that's good. So this is going pretty gradually because now it wants me to just do a straight stitch, and it's going to have me decrease 4 each time so we can follow the pattern on the head. Okay, just so it's like the same sort of setup that the Braut has. The Brautigam also has it with his head. It's just going to look different because he's flat and she's round while they're both being made. Oh, I forgot to do the thing. There we go. So I will be back when I have made a little bit more progress on the head because it looks like I'm just going to be decreasing from now on. Here's the groom with his hair done. I didn't cast it off yet, but I left a long string because I didn't see the instructions that I would typically see for something that wants me to cast it off. It didn't have it for him. So I'm going to thread a needle through it because I assume, like the bride, it wants me to pull it to the top, have the top thing, and then sew down the back. But I've got some ends to weave in first, and I've got some things to sew on. So with the fleege, I kind of just went ahead and did that already. It just wanted me to knit this, which I assume is going to be the tie. If I look at the picture for this, a little bit of everything here, you can kind of see it's just a rectangle that has a lot of yarn around it. So that's pretty easy to understand. And I also got to make that little rose bouquet thing. So I think the next time that I turn on the camera for you to see the groom, he's going to be done. That's going to be pretty exciting. He's done. This is our little groom boy here, our Brautigam. And I mean, it's not bad. Not bad. I didn't quite follow the instructions, and you can see the seam behind the back, but at this point, I'm just glad he's done. And I learned my lesson about shaping from the bride in order to make the shaping for him better, which is good because I'm glad there's stuffing in his head because before that, he really looked like an egghead. And I put this on ahead of time because I don't really like sewing before I stuff it too much. But I should have gotten it closer to there so that way the arm wasn't super thin. But it is what it is. So now, the moment we've all been waiting for, we can have them kiss. Mwah, 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 mwah. Okay. Which honestly kind of reminds me of a toy that I used to have. So my grandmother, when I was younger, bought me these Valentine bears. And they're magnets in their snouts, so they kind of go to each other. I don't know if you could see, just if I let her fall. Oh, that almost didn't work. But what used to happen was her cheeks would light up, but because it's been nearly 20 years, obviously the lights don't work anymore. So it's nice to have a set of stuffed animals, even if they don't have the light effect that are meant to go mwah, 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 mwah. Okay. It's like da 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 da. And if you look at the picture I was going from in the book, you can see I'm pretty close to the groom. In fact, I'd say I'm a little bit closer with the groom than I am with the bride. And my phone decided to play music. Or I thought it decided to play music. Whatever. Anyway, that is the end of the German knitting translation for now. The next language we are going to do is Italiano. So that was today's entertainment. Have a nice day. Auf Wiedersehen.